I enlisted in the military in 1952, volunteered for the draft. I put my age up to 19, and when I received a registration card, I went to the local board and told them I wanted to volunteer for the draft. Well, they said they need 3 more vacancies. They had 3 more vacancies and they wanted to fulfill them, and I told them I wanted to be one of them, so I enlisted as a draftee. I was in the 7th grade, and I was 12 years old, and I come from a kind of a bad background. My father drank a lot, and my mother drank a lot, and I didn't have accurate clothes to go to school, and I was kind of ashamed to wear the clothes I had to go to school because I only had 2 pair of pants. In the evening time, I washed 1 pair and try to iron them dry, and around the pockets and things be still wet. But I still will put those clothes on to go to school. And I just matured at an early age. The area that I was raised up in, it was a poor neighborhood, and my mother was an alcoholic. And a particular day that I told her I was going into the military, she was recovering from a hangover. And I told her I was going into the Army, and she said, "Boy, you better get out of here and go on to school." So instead of going to school, I went to the draft board, and that's when I enlisted and went in the Army. Well, at that particular time, that's when they had segregation, and blacks were still up on the boundaries and stipulations and things like this. And so my father, he went to the Red Cross to tell them that I was underage and he wanted me to get out. And the officials at the Red Cross told them that they would follow up on it, but they didn't. And so I stayed on in the military, and they didn't follow up on it. And I went in the military because of hardships. And when I went in the military, when I found out that you eat 3 meals a day, I couldn't believe it. Because I used to eat cornflakes without milk. I put some cold water on there and eat those cornflakes, and a lot of times I didn't have anything to eat. And so when I went in the military, it was like heaven. 3 meals a day, and the running and the exercise, it didn't bother me because I was 12 years old and I was used to that, because I lived probably about 3 or 4 miles from the closest movie. The movie was uptown, and I lived across town. But see, when I go to the movie, me and my friends and I, we get together and we'll run from across town all the way to the movie. So when I went in the military, that was easy for me. And the other hardships and things, which we call hardships in the military, were easy. It was a gravy train to me. I enjoyed it. And so a lot of my counter friends, which were 20 and 25 years old in the military, on marches and running and exercises, they fall out. And it was a plaything for me. And I basically enjoyed it. I went to Fort Jackson, South Carolina for 16 weeks of infantry basic training. And after my 16 weeks of basic training, I was on orders to the Far East Command, which is Korea. I went to Korea. I stopped in Seoul, Korea. Actually, I landed in Incheon. And then I went to Seoul, and from Seoul, I went straight to the front line. I was in the 65th Infantry Regiment, and the 65th Infantry Regiment was a Puerto Rican outfit. And they had tried to take a hill in Korea called Papasan for 2 weeks. Papasan is so high that the top of it is up in the clouds. You can't see the top. And most of the unit got wiped out. And the ones that didn't get wiped out, they refused to go back and try to take Papasan. So they kind of disbanded the 65th Infantry Regiment, and they sent fresh GIs from the United States into that particular outfit, the 65th Infantry Regiment of 3rd Division. And I was one of them, straight out of basic training. And they assigned me to a machine gun platoon. And I was very afraid because I was only 13 years old. In about a week, I was a combat veteran because I had seen a lot of my friends that I was in basic training with die, and I had to help put them in body bags and different things like that. So I became mature very quickly. And I stayed in Korea for 15 months. And I have a C.I.B. badge, which you call a Combat Infantry Badge. And I'm the youngest person that received the Combat Infantry Badge. I received it at the age of 13 years old. Now, when I went to Korea, I was very afraid because I was even afraid on the ship. When we got to Incheon, Korea, and I was on the ship, I could see that the planes up in the air, they were dogfighting. Although they're about 20, 30 miles away, you can see easily they were dogfighting up there. So I became very afraid. And I urinated on myself. I was so afraid. But we stood there about 2 hours, and then it was time for us to crawl over the side of the ship off the rope into the LSTs with my weapon and my bags and all the different things. So I climbed over there off the side of the ship and got on the LST, and the LST carried us to the landing port. And after we got to the landing port, we got on some trains. And the train that we got on didn't have no windows in it. You couldn't smoke anything, which I didn't smoke at the time, no way. And never had even kissed a girl. And the reason you couldn't light up no cigarette because of the enemy see that fire from their cigarette they were found on the train. So we got to on the way to Incheon, Seoul, Korea. It started snowing, and the flakes of snow were some of the biggest flakes I ever seen in my life. They was big as a baseball, and you couldn't hardly see. They'd be coming down in such flurries. So we got to Seoul, and I got afraid again, very, very afraid, because they had a line of ambulance that looked like it was a mile long. And in each one of those ambulances, they had 4 different stretchers in them. And those are the ones that had got wounded at the front line, and they were bringing them back to get on the medical ship and go back to the States. And I did get afraid. I said, as soon as I get to anybody with authority, I'm going to tell them how old I am. I'm getting out of here. So we found out when we got to Seoul, they put us on some trucks and sent us up to a receiving company. And I seen a sergeant. And I told the sergeant I wanted to talk to him. And I started to tell him how old I was, and he told me, he said, boy, you better get on that truck and get away from here. So I didn't have time to tell him that I was only 13 years old. So I got on the truck and I went to the front line. And once I got to the front line, I was surrounded by my friends that took basic training with, and I was kind of skeptical telling anybody how old I was in front of them because I wanted to be mature. The first time up on the fire, I kind of froze up because I never dreamed I'd be shooting anyone or killing anyone. And so I froze up and I couldn't find my weapon. And they were getting closer and closer because in Korea, they are attacking waves. So I knew that if I didn't do something, I'm gonna let my friends down, and also I'm gonna get killed. So I started firing. And after a few rounds of firing my weapon, and it's kind of like you get into a different mood, you be a different person. And it was either you fire and survive. And that's what I did. And then it became a reality, you know, everything just become natural. And so it's an instinct that came over me, and I continued to do it. And once I started getting into it, I became a combat veteran. It didn't take no week or no 2 weeks. It just took a few rounds popping around your head and seeing somebody beside you killed over dead. And this person was talking to you a few minutes ago, now they're dead. So that's what made me get into the combat. And that's what made me get into the combat reality. Now, yeah, I cried many nights for my mother because I didn't let nobody see me cry, but I cried because this was the first time I ever been away from home, and I was young, and I wasn't adapted to no military life or somebody shooting a weapon at me and rifles and mortar shells and artillery shells falling around me, and I just wasn't used to it. But when I got over that, it took me about 3 days. But when I got over that, I was a seasoned combat veteran, just like anybody else. See, sometimes you can put a person in an adverse situation, and they adapt. They adapt to the situation. They can be 12 years old or 20 years old. They have to adapt. The body is made up where it will adapt. And so that's what I did. I adapted to the combat situation, and I became a combat soldier in about 3 days. I remember one time I was in a hole. We call it a sump, where you throw the garbage at over in. And the artillery shells came in, and I jumped over in there sunk. And I stayed there about 3 or 4 hours. And it seemed to me like my mother was standing over that sump. And she told me, say, everything gonna be all right. And which it was, everything began to be all right. But I seen many of my friends I took basic training with get killed. And I say one of them was a particular friend of mine. His name was Davis from Columbia, South Carolina. A good person. He used to ride home every day and didn't drink, didn't smoke. Just a very good person. And David was in the 76th Recallers Rifle Platoon, and I was in the machine platoon. The 76th Recallers Rifles was probably 300 meters away from where I was in the machine gun platoon. And the next day, I went up to visit Davis, where his location was, where his gun emplacement was. And they told me, well, they actually looked at me kind of funny at first, his platoon did. And then they told me, say, didn't you know that David got killed last night? Now, what you mean he got killed? He said a round came in and blowed his head off. And that thing hurt me so bad, you know. And those things like that would make you, I got angry, for one thing. And by me getting angry, it made me want to go out and kill and do more. And all through my tour over there, I went through certain situations at the same thing. I had a young lieutenant named Lieutenant Kelly. We were trying to take a hill, it was a hill 555, next to Old Bali in Korea. And it was a daylight raid. And I couldn't understand why we were going to try to take a hill in the daytime and they could see us coming. But later on I found out that the general wanted to test our outfit out and test the strength of the enemy. And so he sent our company up Hill 555. Well, in the Battle of 555, we was going up the hill and Lieutenant Kelly got wounded. But the medic picked him up to carry him back down the hill, and he was saying, I need to get back with my men. So he jumped off the stretcher and he went back up the hill to guide his men, and that's the last that I seen or heard of him, because he got killed up on 555. And that's why, Hill 555 is where I received my 2 Bronze Stars. I kept fighting, I kept using my machine gun, and I kept on using it to ward off the enemies that were coming, because they were attacking in waves. Some of them had sticks, some of them blowing bugles, and they was coming in steady waves. And instead of me panicking or running back down the hill and everything, I just continued to stay there and fire my machine gun to wave off the attack. And that actually saved a lot of my other friends from getting killed by me staying there and not panicking and staying right there with the machine gun and steady firing. But by me firing that machine gun and staying there, it wasn't something that was so heroic. It was just that I was a different person. You get into a different state of mind. And it's a state of mind that most of any combat veterans can tell you about it, but they don't understand. It's just something that happened. When bullets flying all around and people screaming for mama, you know, the average person, when they in combat and they get hit, the first thing they holler is mama. And although mama's 8,000, 9,000 miles away, and you hear the screaming and hollering, and then you're trembling and you're going through certain situations and certain states of mind, and it puts you in a different state of mind. The average person that do something heroic, they don't remember basically what they were doing when they were doing it. And I didn't either. The only thing I know, I better keep my finger on that machine gun and fire. And I better fire it the way that I was taught in basic training, because I know if that barrel get too hot, then they're gonna be the end of that machine gun, and I couldn't fire no more. So I remember my training in basic training. You fire at least 6 bursts, and then you fire a couple more, and you let it rest, and you fire some more. And that's what I did. Well trained. Well, at my age, in the area where I was raised up at, I didn't know anything about God and country. I didn't know what the word mean by God and country. I remember about God because I used to go to Sunday school, and I know about God, but I didn't know anything about God and countries. In basic training, they were teaching us about fighting communism. I didn't know what the word communism meant. And the other thing that I was doing then was fighting for survival. I was fighting for survival, and also I was retaliating against the ones I had went through basic training with, and those people who were getting killed retaliating, and also fighting for survival. But we was brothers. There wasn't no such thing as no black. There wasn't no such thing as no white. We ate out of the same spoons. We ate out of the same, drank the water out of the same canteen. We were friends. We slept together in bunkers. We slept together in foxholes. We slept together in trenches, and we were friends. Black, white, Puerto Rican, Indians. My best friend was Indian. All were friends. When you're up on the combat and you're up on the adverse circumstances, we have a tendency the men in to join together. And we was friends. We were brothers. We were family. Combat is combat. It's a continuous thing, day in and day out, minute after minute. And each minute, you know, that could be the minute when you might get killed. So you have to always be on alert. And so you are programmed that way. And there's no way that you can be deprogrammed. Now, a lot of times they say that you can come back home and the psychiatrist talk to you and they deprogram you. We program people to kill. Even when you're taking bayonet training, they teach you to holler out, kill, kill, kill. And this is programmed into you. And then when you actually go into combat, that is programmed into you. And then you can never be deprogrammed. I don't care what nobody say, you can never be deprogrammed from combat. Combat is the stuff of things that were gonna stay with you for life. My regular age is 67 years old now, and I'm still living the life of when I was 13 years old when I was in combat, and I live it every day. It's something that you never, unless you lose your mind, you never get out of it. It's something that already is programmed. And when people ask you about combat, like you did a few minutes ago, you asked me about combat. It's something that basically you can try to explain it, but you can't explain it. Because the only way you can explain combat is that you're actually involved. You actually have to be involved in the situation. And then you still can't fully explain it because it happens so quick. It seems like it's a dream, it's something different. You're in a different state of mind. Freedom means a whole lot to me as an American citizen. And it made me feel good that I could go fight for my country and do the things that I did and the sacrifices for freedom. And I would do it all over again. America is the greatest place in the world and for what it stands for. But we have to fight for, freedom is not free. Freedom is not free. You have to do some sacrifices, and you have to do some things that continues to achieve freedom. And fighting wars sometimes is one of them. I'm ready. I'm of age now, but I'm still willing to go fight for America.
What does the American flag mean and represent to you?
The American flag means my life. God, which I didn't understand at first, but now God and country. And the American flag, when it flies, it symbolizes all those different things, all the freedom that everyone, don't care what nationality, who they are, if they're American, they have certain rights. And people have died for those rights. And that's what it means to me. When I see it fly, I think about all my comrades and all the people, all the ones before me, my ancestors, and other people's ancestors, all Americans, all the wars that they have lost lives and limbs, for just for me to be free. And that's what it means to me. I'm proud to be a veteran. I'm just proud to be an American. And I don't want anybody to do anything that I won't do. I have rights, I have privileges, and I want to take the responsibility of having those rights and those privileges. And so being a war veteran, to keep those privileges, then I'm ready to go.